Today I'm sharing some easy DIYs on thrifted items, turning them into beautiful home decor. Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad that y'all stopped by today. This is a great video to have clicked on. I have been thrifting and found a few things that I want to flip and turn into beautiful home decor with some easy DIY makeovers. We all know that when you're thrifting, whether it be at the thrift store, garage sales, estate sales, some items just are not in pristine condition, but with a little vision and a little TLC, you can do some DIYs on these items and turn them into beautiful decor that you can add to your home, making it look high-end. We're going to start with these tortilla or taco shell pans. I found these at a church Rummage sale. It was 50 cents for this pack of 2. My mind immediately went to this Target decorative bowl that looked exactly like a taco shell bowl. My problem with the Target Inspiration Bowl is that it was $25. We're going to use a little bit of spray paint and craft paint to recreate that inspiration piece. First, I have to run these through the dishwasher so that they are clean. Several thin, even coats of this matte black all-in-one spray paint is going to be the base of this transformation. Make sure that it dries completely and then bring it inside where we're going to use some metallic gold craft paint to create a super easy but very stylish finish. You're going to want to add some water to your gold paint. You want this to be very thin and runny. This particular gold paint has a little metallic flakes in it, not quite glitter, but very sparkly to the paint, and so it works really good for this finish. You're going to mix it up really well. Using a fan-shaped paintbrush, I'm going to let the bristles wick up the paint and water mixture, and then I'm going to make strokes down the sides of the bowl. It's going to be organic, it's going to be random. Since the paint and water mixture is thin, it is going to move around, and that's what you want to give this a unique finish. The metallic gold against the black is very pretty. You're going to do this all the way around the sides. You'll fan out the bottom of the bowl, and then once that dries, you will repeat the process on the outside of the bowl. Once I was satisfied with this metallic decorative finish, I wanted to be sure and seal in my project so that it did not get scuffed and scraped as I use it to decorate around my home. So I took it back outside. I used this matte clear protective spray. I did several coats of thin layers on this on all sides to seal it in and make sure that it was protected. I spent 50 cents for the package of 2, so 25 cents for this project. I had all of the other paints. This was a great savings on a high-end piece of thrifted decor. I am not going to let that second taco shell pan go to waste. I'm taking it outside, and using this metallic spray paint, I am going to give it a good solid coat, several thin layers to fill the inside with this metallic gold color. While that last coat of gold spray paint is still wet, we're going to take some matte black spray paint and very light-handed and very random, just give a few spritzes and sprays on the inside of this taco bowl. This is going to give it an antiqued look when you're done. If you get too much paint, go back and spray some gold over it, spray more black. It's very forgiving. For the outside of my decorative bowl, I'm going to use this smoky beige spray paint. I'm going to do a very simple technique on this. So once again, several light layers of spray paint to cover it. After all the paint is coated and dried, this is what I'm left with, but I want to add this textured sandstone spray paint to it. I am going to only add this on the bottom side where we painted that smoky beige. This is going to just give a beautiful texture to the bowl. Very simple. You can tell I like to use spray paint to transform my thrifted pieces. It makes for a simple DIY. For this textured spray paint, you can go as heavy or light-handed as you desire. After the textured spray paint was dry, I decided that it needed something more. So I'm going to fancy it up just a little bit using this wax paint from Waverly. I'm going to take just a very small amount to dab it off onto a paper towel with a stippling brush. I'm going to lightly apply this wax to the ridges and curves of this ruffled bowl. This is going to help to antique it and draw out the accents. It's also going to highlight some of that texture that is on there from the spray paint. Scalloped and ruffle edges are very popular right now. I think they're classic, but they're actually trending right now. So I want to highlight that edge of this bowl by using a Sharpie marker in the color black. I'm just going to lightly go around the edge of that, and then to antique it and make it look very vintage, I'm using this metallic gold craft paint on a Q-tip to just kind of lightly fill in some of the black. Not covering it up, just leaving it so that there's parts that show through and others that don't, so it has a little bit of a distressed look. It is the small attention to details that will take your thrifted finds to the next level. You definitely want to, once again, seal and protect this with that clear matte spray paint. So I took it back outside and applied several layers to this to make sure that it was going to withstand the use as decoration in my home. And again, for 25 cents, I have another beautiful decorative high-end looking bowl that came from a thrift store find. This next find came from a garage sale. It was $3 for this metal horse that was on this wooden base. You can tell from the screws under here that it is quite old and vintage. It was probably a trophy from a competition. The wooden board that the horse was screwed onto was not symmetrical, so I employed my husband to mark that out and trim off both of the edges so that the base of the horse would be the same distance from head to tail. With the horse on, because those screws were so old, there was no taking them off and getting them back on. So he carefully trimmed the board so that it was symmetrical. My vision for this garage sale find was to create a look that threw me back to the 90s and early 2000s, that Ralph Lauren look, very high-end, rich, and classy. But to do that, I first need to fill the holes that were left where the plaque was taken off of the wood board. It is also very scuffed up, and so I wanted to fill in all those scratches and give me a good, nice, smooth base to start with. After the wood filler had a chance to dry completely, I came in with some fine grit sandpaper and just sanded down the entire surface of the wood base. I then came back and made sure to clean the entire piece thoroughly so that there was no dust or debris left behind. I wanted to make sure that I did not get paint on my metal horse, so I used some painter's tape to tape those off. That way I could work here on painting the base. I had this leftover dark green paint from Christmas. That's what I'm going to use to create the foundation for my wooden base. Very simple, just paint this on. It took 2 coats for it to completely cover the brown wood underneath. After this first step of painting the green on, I'm going to come back and show you the very simple aging technique I use to create that Ralph Lauren high-end look. The first thing you're going to want to do is to protect that green paint. I'm using this Waverly clear wax. It goes on looking like Elmer's glue consistency and color, but it dries clear. So I did 2 coats of this clear Waverly wax. I made sure to let it dry completely between coats and before I moved on to the brown antiquing wax that I'm going to use next. I want to apply this antiquing wax with a small paintbrush. I'm going to use strokes that go the direction of the wood grain. I am going to make it very random in how I apply it. I'm going to work in little sections. Once I paint on, then I'm going to use this paper towel to wipe off any excess. Just keep working around your wooden base until you get the amount of antiquing on there that you want. I, like I said, wanted it heavier in some places and lighter in others. This way that it had that vintage look and it toned down that green paint. I don't want to completely make over this vintage finish that is on the metal horse, but I do want to enhance it. So after I get the legs untaped, I'm going to take this ebony buff and rub. It is a great product if you've never used buff and rub. It comes in so many different finishes to give you the look you want. I'm taking a small pea-sized amount and rubbing it across the texture on the horse, and you can see in some spots it came off heavier than I intended, but then I will go back here in just a minute with the gold antiquing rub and buff and I will tone that down. The key here is to just be very light-handed, go slow, and be meticulous on this. Like I said, I want to preserve as much of that vintage originality as possible while bringing out the accents of all this beautiful detailing on this cast iron horse. Including the new tube of ebony rub and buff from Hobby Lobby. With the price of the horse, I spent right at $10. Everything else I already had in my craft closet to transform this garage sale find into a high-end home decor with a simple DIY makeover. You can see how easy it was to use that antique gold rub and buff to cover up the mistakes. I wanted to highlight the ridges here on the wooden board, so I used some more of the rub and buff in the antique gold to just highlight that raised area and give that detailing to that wooden base. This wooden stool was passed down to us from my husband's great aunt, and I've already made it over once several years ago. I want to make it over again to fit my aesthetic that I have now, and to do that, I went on the hunt to thrift stores and garage sales. I got lucky at Goodwill and found this beautiful piece of chinoiserie fabric for $1.99. It came in a 1 yard length and was 54 inches wide, more than enough for me to recover that little stool. Since this did come from the thrift store, I went ahead and washed it on my delicate cycle, even though upholstery fabric and drapery fabric normally does not go in the wash. But I figured for the price to sanitize and clean it, it was worth the risk, and it came out beautifully. It did not shrink very much and did not lose any color. Recovering a little stool like this is not hard work. This just pops up. It had 4 really long nails that were secured down into some holes of the base, and I just carefully pried that up. I'm removing this old faux white fur fabric. You can see the original vintage vinyl that it was covered in when we received it, but we can't just recover the stool, right? We have to make it fabulous. So I'm going to do that again with that antiquing wax from Waverly and a stippling brush. I liked the gold base that was on here. This antiquing wax, generously rubbing some on, and then I'll come back in with paper towels and pull all of the excess antiquing wax off. This is going to get down into all the little cracks and crevices. This is going to make the base of this stool look so good. I loved the way it turned out. It gave it a depth and dimension that it did not have before. You can see here side by side the difference that antiquing wax made from the original just solid gold spray paint finish. Once I get it all covered in the antiquing wax, then I'm going to let it sit aside so that it dries completely. While that is happening, we're going to work on recovering that stool. I'm laying out my fabric flat and then using my stool top, I'm deciding which floral pattern I want to be featured on the stool when I recover it. Once I find that, I'm going to cut out around it, leaving a very generous allowance so that I can tuck it over. I'm going to use a staple gun to staple it to the bottom of this stool top. Very simple. Cut out any excess where it gets too thick in the corners, being very careful to make those corners neat as I do that. I want to use this as more like a side table or a stool that I can set decor on. If you wanted to use it as a seated bench or a little stool like at a makeup vanity, you could add some padding. But for me, leaving it like this has created a more stable surface that I can use for that decor. 4 long nails make this super easy to pop back onto the stool base. And for $1.99, I have a brand new look to this family heirloom that was passed down to us. I hope this inspires you and motivates you that you don't need a lot of money. You don't need to spend a lot of time to make over the items you have with little thrifted items to create a new look and beautiful high-end home decor in your own home. What do you think of this vintage faux bamboo metal magazine holder? I think it is gorgeous. It is a little rough. The finish has been worn off from years of use, but sometimes a simple DIY makeover on a thrifted find can be as simple as spray paint. I found this for only $1 at a garage sale. The feet were missing on a couple of these, and I don't want it to ruin any of my hardwood floor or carpets. So I'm taking the 2 little plugs that were on here and I'm putting them on the center brackets. And then off of Amazon, I purchased some little rubber feet. I measured the feet and made sure I was buying the correct size. I'm going to put those on the other 4 legs of this magazine holder. I'm wiping everything down, and then I'm going to use a gold metallic spray paint. This was a little bit tedious, but not hard at all. It took some precision and patience to make sure that I coated all of the surfaces on here. But when I did, it was absolutely beautiful. Looks brand new, but still had that vintage charm from those bamboo lines and detailing. So again, I hope that you are inspired to thrift. Find some of those pieces that are less than perfect. Take a little spray paint, a little craft paint, use your imagination, and create you some beautiful home decor. Thank you so much for spending your time here with me. It means the world to me. Let me know down in the comment what your favorite thrifted DIY makeover was. I love to hear from you. Let me know if you have found something and made it over into something spectacular. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. I would love for you to join the Uniquely Lesa family. Until I see you in that next video, have a wonderful and blessed day.